we're just talking about Miami and Phoenix being a potential finals matchup. Another team that, has designs on the finals, and actually you and I picked them. Both of us picked them at the beginning of the year. I'm not picking them anymore. But the Brooklyn Nets, obviously a lot of changes there. One thing that hasn't changed is Kyrie Irving can ball when he does play. He's obviously only playing road games. That vaccination mandate still has not been lifted in New York. There's been movement. Like some of the things have been lifted, but not enough to allow him to play home games. But last night he was able to play as the Nets went to visit Charlotte. And Rob, he put on a show. I don't know if you watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Durant described it in these terms, and I couldn't agree more. Masterclass. A masterclass. And Rob, Durant loves skills, right?
When you hit 9 out of 12
I think he judges players on
too.
skills. Well, here's the amazing thing. He scored 50 points on 19 shots.
Right. This is
50 points on 19 shots. So if
this isn't Kobe's 60 points on 50 shots.
No, and look, today the efficiency of a lot of players is going to be rated higher because they shoot so many threes. So obviously you take one shot that's worth 3 and you make it, that's going to raise your efficiency over hitting a 2-point shot. But think about this, Rob. If he took 19 shots and all of them were 2s and he hit every one of them, he still would only have 38 points.
Right.
He had 50 points. And that's why, a lot of times you hear a guy say, well, he had 20 points, but it was on 20 shots. Well, back in the day, if you hit 10 of those 20, that's 50%. That would be 20 points, if you didn't get to the line.
But there are guys who, you've seen it. Dominique Wilkins had a lot of lines, Chris, where he had 35 points on 30-something shots. That's when people look at it and go, all right, yeah, you scored a lot. Even Kobe's last game against his last
Kobe
game.
Kobe shot 44%, but I'm saying if you shoot 50%, that's not bad.
But I'm just saying, yeah.
Kobe made 44% of his shots that last game.
Right.
Which was his career average. So it was actually, that whole game was appropriate. The way he went out gunning, the way he went out, the percentage, everything. But back to Kyrie, like you said, he hit 9 of 12 threes and 11 of 13 free throws. If a guy in today's NBA that is a guy that shoots a lot, if he gets hot from 3, these types of nights are very possible. He also threw in 6 assists too. But Rob, it got me to thinking, and I don't know where you are on this. I believe I'm in the minority when I say that Kyrie Irving, I feel like you're with me, but I don't know. You'll tell me. I feel like Kyrie Irving, I have no hesitancy whatsoever in saying he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. None. Do you?
No, I believe that, even though he didn't even make the top 75 and they're putting in guys like Dame Dollar ahead of him. I think that's recency biased because of Kyrie and who he is, not just the body of work. There's no way that Damian Lillard should be ahead of him. I'm sorry.
I think that's arguable.
I don't think so.
I think there's a strong argument for Kyrie, but there's a strong argument for Dame. But you can't say only Kyrie has a championship and he does.
Yeah, and he made one of the biggest shots in NBA history.
Okay, but that's one shot.
No, I'm just saying that, and he put up some great numbers in playing that. I'm just saying I have an issue. I think he's one of the most talented players, and I think that if Kyrie didn't have the other stuff, I don't doubt one bit that he would have been ahead of Damian Lillard. I think that factors into people.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's my gut.
And I don't disagree with you in that I think there's an argument, like we've talked about, like how you pick Dame and not pick Kyrie. Especially when Dame, very well, a lot of people, Rob, think Dame was player number 76. Remember, there were 76 guys. And so I think my only issue with what you said is that, like, it's just cut and dried that Kyrie will have to be ahead of him. I don't think we're there. I think it's a real discussion between those two. I wouldn't have had a problem if neither of them was on it, but there's more than 75 guys in the Hall of Fame. So I think he is a first ballot Hall of Famer, but in talking to a lot of basketball writers and people, I feel like I'm in the minority. Rob G, and not that he's a basketball person, he fancies himself one, though. Rob G doesn't think he's a Hall of Famer, right, Rob? Now, forget first ballot. You don't think he's a Hall.
Chris?
Wait a minute, Rob,
You
said
were
we
straight
talked
with
earlier.
the Lord.
What'd you say?
I
You say
said that he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer to me.
Oh, but you think he's a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, because everybody gets in the basketball Hall of
Thank
Fame.
you. I was just Rob G.
Everybody
Rob
gets
G.
in.
Okay,
Thank you.
but
I was just going to
first of all,
say that. I was just going to say that.
Everybody doesn't get in the basketball
Yes, they
Hall of
do.
Fame, number one. Number two, forget that. Forget everybody getting in.
Curly Neal's
He's
in the
a
basketball Hall of Fame.
Kyrie, and he should be. As a Harlem Globetrotter, heck yeah, he should be. But Kyrie Irving, forget like the lax criteria, if that's what you want to call it. We don't have to debate that. But if you want to say, if you want to say there's lax criteria, fine, that can be a debate and discussion over another day. Regardless, if the criteria was stringent, Kyrie Irving's a Hall of Famer. That dude is bad. And the point I want to make, Rob, is as good as he is, and you mentioned you think he should have been on top 75. I think that's what you were saying.
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong.
Definitely.
Okay.
If I had a vote on it, I would have.
I think Kyrie Irving, for all he's done and as good as he is leaving, to use the term Rob G used when we talked earlier, he's leaving a lot of meat on the bone. And that's why, like I said, a lot of people don't see him as a first ballot Hall of Famer or maybe even a Hall of Famer. And that, to me, that is Kyrie's kind of selling himself short with some of his decisions. And I think when we look back, we'll say he was awesome. You know, obviously his book still is being written, so who knows where it'll go from here. But to this point, as great as Kyrie Irving has been, I think he's probably, to this point, done 70% of the things he should have done or could have done. And here's why I say that. Had he stayed in Cleveland with LeBron, they might have won. I feel pretty good saying they would have won at least one more championship. I might be wrong, but I think they would have had a great chance at winning at least one more. Had he done that, Rob, because you know he would have been balling. He'd have been the second leading scorer. He was their closer. Maybe would have hit another big shot. He'd have been on that top 75 team. Instead, he forced his way out. He went to Boston, and, you know, it didn't look good. Didn't work out well there. They played better without him. And then in Brooklyn, I'm not going to blame him for injuries. Anybody can get injured, and he's had his injury issues. But now with the vaccination, I'm not even talking about all the other stuff. Some of what some people might think is bizarre views and all that. I'm not talking about that.
No,
but even just the vaccination.
But other people.
No, others are. Right. But I'm talking, Rob, I'm not talking about how it affects people's perception of him. I'm talking about him not achieving as many things as he could have. Because of some of the decisions.
So last year, when he became the ninth player in NBA history to go 50, 40, 90, that didn't do anything for you last year.
I mean, that's fine, but I mean, wow.
No, but only nine players have ever done it. I'm just saying.
No, I'm not saying he hasn't achieved. He's a seven-time All-Star.
Right, I'm just saying.
Saying he's leaving stuff on the table. I mean, Steve Nash used to do that.
Well, Steve
50,
Nash,
40,
Larry
90.
Bird. I'm just saying, some of the greatest players who've ever done it. I mean, it's a small list, and it's pretty impressive. That's all I'm saying is Kyrie Irving's book and story's not finished. He's only 29 years old. He's got years to go. And maybe this is one of those periods, and maybe after this, things change where he can stay healthy and just play basketball. I think anybody who writes his story now, it's not complete.
Well,
it's
of course.
premature.
Didn't I just say that?
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm not talking to you. I'm saying anybody who thinks he's a finished product and we can judge him and whether or not he's a Hall of Famer or where he fits in. I think if they win, if they win, whether it's this year, 2 years from now, whenever it is, if him and Durant finally get healthy and those guys with Simmons win two championships in Boston, I mean, in Brooklyn, you'll have to write a different story about Kyrie.
You know what? I mean, come on, man. If Jimmy Butler wins 2 championships, you're going to write a different story about him.
Yeah,
we can say that about anybody.
No, but I think that they have a real shot with the talent of the players that they have. That's all. I don't think Jimmy Butler has as great of a chance of winning 2 championships with the squad that he has compared to the Nets. That's all I'm saying.
The point I'm just making is that as great as Kyrie has been, he's leaving a lot of meat on the bone. Because he's not vaccinated, he may look back eventually and look at this season and say, man, what a golden opportunity that we had, and he didn't get it done. He'll probably never admit it publicly, but inside. And so that's all. My point is just that had he stayed in Cleveland, maybe, I think he would have, his image would have been better because I think he would have won more. Had he been vaccinated, I think they'd have a real great shot. I mean, they got a lot of talent, so you can't just completely write them off. But I think it's a long shot this year just because of the circumstances. But had he been playing every game or, home games and stuff, then I think they'd have a real legit shot. And that's another thing that he's kind of leaving on the bone, so to speak. So that's all I think about Kyrie.